Okay, that's coming through okay for everyone, I assume. Oh, no one's shouting, that's good. Okay, so decision cards obviously accessed via our admin menu. We open up our decision cards form here. You can see we've got a couple that have been preloaded. Brad was very kindly put together for us this morning for training. The first decision card we're going to look at is a dummy application, account application decision card. You can see here there are a couple of things to note on the general page, front page of the decision card. First being the basis. Okay, so we have three different decision card bases, and they are rules, script, or script with rules. We'll run through each of these briefly. We may re-go over some of the things that Caroline had mentioned in a previous session, but that's okay. You can see here, this one has been set up as a script with rules. And what that means is that we are able to assign a number of rules using our rules page. You can see here, we have a bunch of different rule types and a bunch of different conditions that need to be met. And we will supplement those rules using some script code. We'll jump into in just a moment. Second thing to note on our decision card form is our source. Obviously, a decision card should have a source object. This is very similar to object event scripts, workflow types, those sorts of things. We can point these to accounts, account applications, individual applicants, clients, or a custom one. This one here is going to relate directly to an account. And then on our options page, again, not too much of note on here. There are a couple of things that are specific to scripting. The first being the decision card outcome summary HTML. So by default, when you run a decision card, it will produce a little HTML summary. This this field here rather is an opportunity to override the existing one. So we can create our own summary page. We can override the existing default decision outcome summary. So if you've got a custom one, you'd assign that in here. And then obviously we have the standard script language and timeout settings that are common across all scripts. Under our rules, Caroline did a very good job of breaking this page down for us in the last session. But there are a couple of things to note with regards to scripting. The first column to bring your attention to will be the code. So the code allows us to, via script code, allows us to specify a specific rule via our script code. So obviously we can find our decision item .code, and we can match that up to the rule code that we've set up on our rule in here. Secondly, you can see here that in our message, and this is obviously the message that's going to be displayed upon the rule being run. You can see here that we have some smart tags. Smart tags have just been denoted by square brackets around braces around each of these tags on the message. So by doing that, we're able to resolve those to be custom values via our script code, which we'll run through very shortly. And then lastly, in the conditions. Now, you can see here that this is an account-based decision card, but we're referencing client here. Client.is individual, client.age, and things like employment months and total expenses. So these are actually relate to variables that we're going to dim in our script. Okay, so you can actually in your conditions here, you can actually set up variable names, and then when you come into your script code, these will relate directly to the variables you have set up. So we jump into our script code here. You can see here that we have those variables defined. We have client, we have our employment months, we have our total expenses, total income, repayments, etc. When we come to look at the script code, you'll see that obviously the first line to note here is our relates to our source object. Obviously, this was a client-based one. You have a client and thin client auto-generated by your script code. First thing here is that we're pointing our client object to be the first client on the account. So any rules relating to our client will be relating to our first client, main client. And then we're going to perform some validation and things in here. We're going to go and get the current months in employment. We're going to go and get some information from the statistics set. This could be obviously, whatever your requirements are. In here, we're simply displaying some using the client statistics to display some information in our and meet some conditions in our rules. The next line of code to take note of here is this execute rules directive. Okay, so execute rules is going to do exactly that. It's going to run through these rules and it's going to try and evaluate each of the conditions. Okay, so any script with rules is going to have by default this execute rules directive in there. If you don't have that in there, it will not execute any of your rules, so don't take it out. Also, try to avoid the temptation to bring this in line with the other code. This should be, as with all of our hash directives, should be hard aligned out to the left-hand column. So that is an important thing to note. Again, if you move that around, you're going to find that your execute rules don't fire properly. So just bear that in mind. Once our rules have been executed, we are then going to loop through our decision outcomes. And we're going to make a few, we're going to update things like our fail message and our refer message. So we're basically looping through each of the outcome from each of these rules is going to be iterated here. Any that have failed, we're going to build up a fail message and set our outcome fail variable to true. Same with refer and same with pass. Once we've done that, we're going to come through and we're going to replace these smart tags. So as I said previously, under the message, you can put various smart tags and things in here, text to replace, or you can just build up your message from scratch if you choose to. In here, we've chosen to have our message there with some smart tags in there. So this is going to go through and resolve those. And that's just a really simple check. If the smart tag exists, then we're going to replace it with the relevant information. That's that little block there. And then finally, last thing we're going to do is to come through and set our decision card outcome. So up the top here, when we looped through our items, we were setting an outcome fail, outcome refer, if any of the items would fail or refer. Now, some of this is going to be, some of this is going to depend upon the requirements of your decision card, but in this case, it's if one fails or one refers, then the decision card's going to fail or refer accordingly. And you can see here that we're just simply setting a fail message, a refer, or pass message if that were to run. Very, very straightforward. At the bottom, we have some information. We have a little function here which goes and calculates our loan repayments. Not really relevant to the to decision card specifically, but it does relate back to this one. As with other sessions, obviously, we will export these decision cards and make them available for download. We'll link them up in the YouTube video comments or description. So you'll be able to get in and have a play with this yourselves, if you so wish. So moving on from the code, obviously we have constants, same as we do with all different scripts, any of our scripting objects, and then we have a test option here as well. So we can actually run through and test our decision card is working. We'll pick an account and run our test, and you can see here is our decision outcome. You can see here this decision card passed. In our message, you can see that our smart tags were all resolved, and the relevant scores and things applied to the decision card. Okay, again, if we select another account here, this one has failed. You can see here that we have updated our message from the using the message of the failure. If you had multiple items that had failed, obviously it would just simply append those into the message button. And as mentioned previously, obviously this is the outcome summary that we can choose to override on our options page. Okay, so that's a script with rules. I would say script with rules covers probably a good 99% even of your decision cards. Obviously, it gives you the best of both worlds, allows you to define your conditions and set out all of your rules on the rules page, and then gives you the added flexibility of being able to mess with those and update those using script code. Generally speaking, most of the decision cards that we do would tend to be a script with rules. However, as we saw previously, there are two other decision card bases we can select, rules and script. So we'll have a quick look at those now. Under rules, obviously, very simply, if you've selected that option, then script code is not going to apply. So anything you put in here is not going to do anything, and it will simply just work based off of the rules that you've defined here. Very, very straightforward. If you've got a simple decision card, doesn't require any script code, then absolutely feel free to make it a rules only script card, rules only decision card, and set up your rules and conditions in here. The other option we have is a script with just a script. See here, we look at our scripts. You can see here, these will be ignored since this decision type is a script. Again, we've just changed our basis on the front page there. The rules aren't going to apply, and we're going to code everything. So we're going to add our rules, and we're going to add our conditions all using script code. And obviously, that's fine to do, but not having those rules defined in a nice interface can lead to that being confusing. But again, it is an option should you so wish. Lastly, one thing to note with our rules only decision card, if you were to start off with a decision card that was based purely on rules, had no script code, you were to go in and change that to be a script, you get an option here. You've changed the decision card type to a script-based type. Do you want to automatically generate the script based on these rules? If you say yes, you go to your script code. You'll see here that it's actually gone ahead and done that for you. So that's basically a script representation of everything that we have set up in here. As I say, I'm not sure whether that's there's too many real world applications for that, but that is an option should you so decide to move decision cards around. I guess if you've got clients or that have set up their own decision cards and all of a sudden want scripting and things, then that might be a quick option that might save you some time. And that's pretty much it. Aside from looking at, we've already mentioned previously, you can update the HTML summary that is produced when you run the decision card. There's really not much to look at there. There are a couple of summary blocks as well that can be overridden, but typically that's pretty much the extent of any scripting. When it comes to business layer objects, you're really just dealing with your decision outcome and your decision outcome items. And the main one to remember, as mentioned previously, is that when you have a script with rules, that you don't remove the execute rules directive. Leave that in place and make sure that's left aligned. We will, as I said, we will export these decision cards out and put them up onto links on the YouTube video that Caroline Riccani will produce for us.